Phil, that's pre-season done and dusted, but what were your reflections on today, first of all?
Well, I'm going to contradict you there, Matty, straight away. It's not done and dusted. We've still got a week to go. But in terms of games, competitive matches, that's the last of the organised one. Sometimes you hasten to organise another one in the final week, maybe the Tuesday or the Wednesday for the players who need top-ups. But I don't think that's the case. I think we've balanced the books with regards to how many players we've got in the change room and how many players have got 90 minutes under the belt, and a number of 90 minutes. Today, Stoke City in town, and they arrived. I know Ryan, the manager, very well, having played against them many times and known how professional he is, how he would organise his teams, and how the under-23s in the Premier League or the Championship, they play good football, which we sampled on the training ground on Thursday against Aston Villa. But we had as near as damn it to our strongest team out. Apart from the exceptions of Rhys McNally, was nowhere to be seen. He was wrapped up in cotton wool, and Luke Summerfield, who certainly will be in contention and for the starting lineup. So there is that little bit of, with today's performance, there's that little bit of competition for places that, as a manager, it's your biggest part of your job, but it's something that you really look forward to. You look forward to picking winning teams, you look forward to picking winning formulas and winning tactics, but that mindset of the group of players that we've honed in on over the last 5-6 weeks is more or less in place now. We know how we want to play. We also know how it looks when the opposition do something about that, and we can hit the front man. We also know how to defend properly. We've got our game plan intact to a certain extent. The new players that have come in have picked up the mantle straight away about playing for Kidderminster Harriers. But again, I'll re-emphasise that to the supporters. When it comes down to Saturday the 10th of August, as I've said all the way along in the last 5 weeks, the game against Darlington will be totally different from what we witnessed today. The opposition will be in our face. The opposition will be fighting for every ball, for every inch. The physicality side of it will be probably akin to the one pre-season game where I think we didn't quite manage the game, strangely enough, and that was against Tamworth. It'll probably be a similar kind of scenario against Darlington, albeit it'll be a better surface for sure. But the mentality of the group, certainly where the opposition are concerned, they'll be prepared for that, and we've got enough experience to know what we're going into. I'm not too sure anybody will surprise us because we've got that experience, but at the same time we've got a lot of young lads as well, and they've got to learn how to play the game. Me and Macca have got to learn how to deal with the abuse that you get from the touchline, because they're right on top of you. And the only way to deal with that is to win games of football away from home, then come back to Agra and this surface that me and you just been talking about. I tell you what, it's absolutely beautiful. Full credit to Tim and his staff. He'll probably tell me straight away I haven't got enough staff, but my word, it looks like a carpet at the moment, and it's befitting of a town where carpets are made. You've got one there, and it's magnificent. So we'll certainly be trying to play the kind of football that we played today when we come to Agra. Whether the opposition can stop or whether we deal with that situation, only time will tell. But Darlington, first game, it'll be a battle royal. As you know, you're going up to the northeast, as you can tell by the accent. That's where I'm from. I played for Hartlepool long enough to know what a Darlington team looks like, and they'll be fighting for every inch, but so will we. And hopefully we'll fight hard enough for the ball that we can play some football as well.
In terms of the habits that you'd want your team to get into over the course of the pre-season programme, there's been a fair few clean sheets and some goals as well. Ashley Hemmings in particular, you spoke about it near the front end of pre-season, but he's looking in good touch, isn't he, up the top?
Ash has came back in unbelievable shape, and if you are looking as a young player for an example of what you should be doing off-season and then pre-season and then pre-season if necessary, Ash Hemmings typifies that. Doesn't matter what division you're in, he's such a good professional, and consequently when he crosses the white line, that professionalism, you can see the way he moves. He's played at a higher level. He knows what it takes to win a game of football. He knows what it takes to score goals. Sometimes he's a little bit selfish, but if you're wearing the 9 or the 10, then so be it. You know, as long as the chances come along, that's the main part. And if Hemo hits the ground running, if Amari hits the ground running, if Maz hits the ground running, you know, you're talking about players that can create. You're talking about players that can score goals, and they've done that in pre-season. But again, I'm going back to the fact that it really counts for nothing. It's just a case of get to the 10th of August, have every player fit and ready and mentally prepared for what's coming. Then that for me is a successful pre-season.
Just wanted to touch on Malik Carrigan as well, only because he seems to have been on a little journey since he's been with us, and he's starting to make more of a fuss of himself, isn't he, now, in terms of it being a threat?
It's well spotted. I think, you know, Brownie's trying to commandeer that midfield on his own, and now all of a sudden he's got somebody alongside him that can do the same. You know, they can cover the ground. If you look at the numbers that them two put in when they're in the same team, the sitting midfield player, it looks like it's almost an easy job. I think me and you could play sitting in midfield with the amount of miles that they put on the clock. But when you've got that sitting midfield player that can dictate, and we've got one in Luke Summerfield, and now all of a sudden Luke was a little bit tight in terms of looking after him. He was a little bit tight, and he pulled out of training late on the Tuesday, so he's had 3 or 4 days sitting on the touchline, and it was so frustrating for him. I kept on turning to him, you know, it was so frustrating that he wasn't playing today. But we took that decision, and to make sure that he's going to be fit for next Saturday. But he was witnessing David Davies, and he was enjoying his football. He was getting around the park, and that's on the back of playing an hour on Thursday as well. So he's had an hour on Thursday, an hour on Saturday, and he's been out of training and out of the game for over 12 months. So Digger's now putting his case forward. It's coming together nicely, but you know, people will think it's a difficult part of the job. It's not. When you've got good players that want to play, that's the easy part of the job. Picking the right team, the right formation, and picking a team that's got the right mentality to go and win at Darlington. That's what we've been in pre-season as well, me and Matt, and that's what we've been fine-tuning ourselves. The voice that we give them, the information that we give them, but the thought process of how to break down the opposition.
And how do you kind of taper the last days of pre-season? Because as you rightly said at the start, there's still a week to go, but the main aim is having everybody fit and ready for Saturday, so not a case of easing off as such, but do you have to adjust it at all?
I think we don't completely step off. We've still got a little bit of work to do on Monday and Tuesday, and everybody's looking forward to the photo shoot that we've got. They'll have Wednesday off, which is going to be a normal plan. Try to get them into a cycle of being able to perform at the weekend. And if they don't perform at the weekend, we always look at ourselves, you know. Sometimes it's like the fatigue's still in the legs, but the one thing you witnessed today, there's no fatigue in the legs, and everyone was bright on top of the ground. I like players that go out and look like they're on top of the ground. When you haven't got that, when you've got players that are running through the mud, as it were, you've done something wrong on the training ground, in my opinion. So fine-tuning them, it's probably 90-95% there. It's just that last 5%, just a little bit more sharper work, and 1 or 2 kilometres as well. But the sharper the stuff, the better for them in terms of their preparation for Saturday.